Hello and welcome to the EnSpirit podcast, where we inspire you to develop and enhance your entrepreneurial talents and skills. This series is packed full of information, tips and interviews that help you change and find the edge in your game. I'm your host, Beju Solanki. I'm a performance psychologist and I've been working with entrepreneurs and business owners for the last 25 years, helping them improve their game. To find out more information about me, please look on all social media platforms, but specifically Clubhouse and Instagram. Before we launch this week's episode, I'd love to tell you about the Change Your Game Scorecard. If you're struggling to achieve what you really want and you're not sure where to start, the Change Your Game Scorecard will help you identify where you need to improve. Life is a game, and there are 3 core games you need to conquer to succeed in life. That's the inner game, your mindset, your emotions, your thoughts. Your game plan, that's your strategy and your roadmap. And then your outer game, how consistent and persistent you are in taking actions. The Change Your Game Scorecard will help you identify how strong you are in each of those games. Please visit changeyourgamescorecard.com for more information and get your report today. Thank you for listening. Hi everybody, I'm glad to welcome Mac Attram here today. How are you doing, Mac?
I'm doing well, as can be in this climate at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. We're recording this hopefully it's towards the end of the lockdown and going back to some sort of normality. But like you say, it's a very unique experience and some great lessons and great challenges. But yeah, I'm sure everybody can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's strange times, very unprecedented times. We are living in the time of history, and so survive this. I'm sure we survive other things.
Yeah, I can imagine. As you said that, I was thinking, yeah. My grandchildren, I was in the COVID period, and it's like our grandparents said, well, I was in World War II. So yeah, absolutely. But Mac, listen, I'm really excited about our conversation because the whole point of what EnSpirit is about is helping people understand. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you are now. But if you have a dream, if you have a goal, with the right strategies, the right thinking, and the right appropriate action, you can get there. And we'll have different journeys. You know, I met you through the speaking circuit, through Yes Group, Personal Development World. You speak in front of thousands of audiences, but it wasn't always like that. And I want people to really understand how you got to doing what you love doing and where did it all start?
Wow, good question. So today, for those who don't know me, today I run 5 different businesses, myself and my wife, I'm a family man, been married to my wife for 20 years this year, 20 years we've married, 3 children. So financially, things are very good, can't complain. But where did I start? One of my businesses is training and coaching. And so we train and coach entrepreneurs and business owners. Typically, those are in our longer program, our platinum program will grow their business, typically between 20% and 200%. In about 6 months to a year, following our principles. We have a multi-million-pound real estate property business. We have a digital marketing company. So we've got these things that go on. But my thing is, I love spending a lot of time with my family. Right now in COVID, it's given me a lot more opportunity to do that. I'm not able to travel. I travel, twice a month, most months apart from the COVID situation, to educate and inspire people around the world. But where did it all start? Because I wasn't always a speaker.
Yeah.
I got into it by accident. How did that happen? Well, like most people, my parents were one of those: go to school, study hard, get a good, secure job, and you're set. And so I listened to my parents, studied hard, got an MBA. I worked. I was then recruited by a big retail company as a graduate management trainee. So I joined their management training program, and I stayed with them for 7 years. And after 7 years, I got this itchy feet. I thought, no, I can't stay here. I want to do something else. So I looked for another company, and I worked for another retail company as a general manager for 2 years. I survived 2 years there.
Survived. You say survived.
Survived 2 years. I say that because there was a lot of things going in my mind at the time. And then the third company I worked for, I was there for 1 year. And I remember having a conversation with the regional manager at the time. And it wasn't a cordial conversation. The conversation was going too well. I thought, I've had enough of this. And I really spent several months thinking, actually, I wasn't happy at that company. I wasn't happy in that last company. Maybe I just need to do my own thing. Maybe I just need to set up my own company. And so so after 1 year there, argument with this regional manager, I said, the next day I came in and I sent in my resignation. So now I'm on my own. This is 1999, 2000.
So before that 1 year, did you have an idea before that, during the previous jobs, I want to do my own thing?
You know, when I think about it now, 1999, 2000, all I could hear was .com, internet, e-commerce, all this. I thought, well, that would be good to jump into. So I set up an internet services company. And that internet services company, I learned how to do web design. Right. So now I was going out speaking to people. Do you need a website? Do you need a website? And I'll do that. And after a while, I hired people to do that instead of me doing it. And some of the companies that I was speaking to, they also had computer-related problems. I'll go and see in the office, Mac, we've got a computer issue here. Can you look at it? So I just fit all of it, and they paid me, and then I got a team of people. So over about a couple of years, I grew a team to about 10 people, 12 people.
Just want to go on that, because there's a lot of people who listen to entrepreneurs and they say, yeah, well, I was on the job, unhappy, and then one day I just started. What we don't always focus on is what's going on the other side. So at that time, did you have dependents? Did you have a family? Was there a situation where you thought, hang on, if I stop my job and start a business, how long can I survive before I start earning? What were those kind of thoughts? And did you say, well, no, I don't care where it takes me 10 years, I'm not going to ever get back to a job? Or was it like, well, I'll try it for a year, see how it goes? What was some of the things that you had to deal with that people don't often see? You know,
fortunately enough, I say fortunate enough, at that time, 1999, 2000, I got married mid-2000. The decision I made to quit my job, I wasn't married then, and I had no kids. And so 1999, actually what happened was this. On our honeymoon, so if you imagine 1999, I'm working for this company, I'm not happy, I'm dissatisfied, I'm thinking I need to do something else. So I start planning what that could be. You know, although I have an MBA, which, as you know, the MBA, whatever, BA degree, whatever, prepares you to work for someone else. Yeah. It doesn't prepare you for entrepreneurism. I don't care what it is. You get into entrepreneurism, you figure out the way. And so I started doing these business plans, looking at numbers. And so by the end of so I registered my first company towards the end of 1999. And I toyed about doing something part-time, very part-time. And on my honeymoon in Cancun, Mexico, right, I said to my wife, I think I'm just going to quit. I'm going to quit. I'm going to start my own business. And it did not go down well.
Wow. What did you say?
No, seriously. Because imagine, I've worked my way through the companies over a 10-year period. Now I've got a company car, got a high salary. Things are good. Things are cushy. We just bought our new house. Everything is nice. So now I'll break it down. I want to quit my job and start this company. And it didn't go down well, but I asked my wife to trust me. I think, I want to build a better future for us and all the rest of it. And so that's what happened.
And was she in work, or was it relying on your own income?
No, she was working as well.
Okay.
She was working as well, but we both had the same mindset as we were told: go to school, study hard, get a good, secure job. And but the entrepreneurial thing was coming to me because I'd worked for different companies. I think got to a place where I was so dissatisfied. I thought I had to do my own thing. Right. And I jumped onto that.
And you chose the internet services because you saw, hang on, there's a trend here, there's a need here, and there's a it doesn't look like a phase, it's going to be something. So you just went into that, as opposed to maybe going, because you were in retail, you were in sort of management, you didn't want to become like a consultant, a management consultant or something like that. I'm thinking about it, I must have toyed with different ideas, and I think I was just following the trend because it was the .com thing. People getting into internet. People, having a website was a new thing. People wanted a website. I thought, this is it. And actually, it was one of the biggest mistakes I made in my, in my entrepreneurial journey. Because?
Going into that business. Well, what happened was this. I went into that business and slowly started finding clients. Okay. And so the trend was good. I had to find a way of getting clients. It wasn't that easy as I thought it would be. Eventually I started having clients, but as my team started to build and service our clients, what happened was I got 2 business partners who came on board. So now we opened up a big office retail space I live in West London. This was in North London, Edmonton, Enfield area.
Right.
And so I'm traveling an hour and a half each day. Now I'm married. Within a year, we have our first child. I'm trying to run a business. I've got a first child. And after about 2 or 3 years, things started happening badly in the business in terms of people weren't performing, and I didn't know how to manage a team. Although I managed teams in retail, managing team in your own business and trying to do the customer service, trying to get admin done, finance, all this kind of stuff, it was a problem. So, and there's no one else to turn to. You can't turn to the IT department. You can't turn to the customer service. You can't turn to your boss or whatever. You've got to figure it out yourself. Anyway, both my business partners left the business. They cheated the business, stole a lot of money. I find myself at that time because I travel abroad, I say $100,000 in debt, but it's roughly about 60 to 70,000 pounds in debt, personal debt, because I had to find my own money to pay for certain things because they're stolen. So things were a mess. Now I'm working 90 hours a week. I'm waking up early, trying to get my business working, rush to the office, do that, come back home. Now I'm not seeing my wife. And now we have a child coming on board. We have a first child. And things weren't going right at all. It's a big mess. My health is deteriorating. My doctor's saying, take it easy because your blood pressure is really high. And so it was a mess. And I remember, it must have been around 2004. I actually wrote it in this book, my book. This is my 4th book called The Millionaire Moment. Right? And what happened was this. There was one evening, traveling home from the office, and 5 minutes from my home, I remember I parked my car in this shopping center car park, and I was sitting there, hands on the wheels, going through this breakdown, thinking, am I a failure? How did I get here where my business is not working? I'm heavily in debt. We have a second child on board. My wife's pregnant with our second child. I'm hardly at home. It looks like my wife's going to leave me because she's complaining a lot. I'm not around. And my health is deteriorating. How did I get here? And in that moment, it dawned on me that I created my situation. And there is no, where I am now is I created that. Although things that happened to me, I realized I wanted to study and find out how other successful business owners became success. Because I was reading newspapers, Fortune, the rich list, all that kind of stuff. So how did they do it then? And how did I get here? What did I do wrong? And so that's when I found places like the Yes Group, and I found the Anthony Robbins, and I found the T. Harv Ekers, and I remember it was November 2004. It was around September 2004 when I went through this breakdown. And then I went on the journey of reading these books on success, on wealth, on business, on mindset, and because I wanted to change. And I'm glad I found people like Tony Robbins and Harv Eker and all those, because within less than 2 years of studying and listening to great people who had been there and done it, less than 2 years, I was able to fix that business. I sold that business and I started investing in real estate property, because my whole thing was to get financial freedom. Why financial freedom? Because I wanted to spend more time with my family that I wasn't seeing. And so that journey, it was a catalyst really, because going through that pain and going through losing stuff and things not happening got me to a place where people then started asking me for help to fix their business.
Because they saw that you were fixing your life.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this, Mac. At the moment in the car,
yeah,
you had your hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
You felt I'm a failure. But you were strong enough to admit I'm taking responsibility for this. I created this. You didn't blame your business partners. You didn't blame.
Well, I didn't know what the language was at the time.
Yeah.
But what I'll tell you, because I'll tell you maybe what the shift was. Up until then, I mean, one of the underlying things in my life has been since the age of 13 is I've always practiced martial arts, whether with an instructor or my own. I'm a former UK champion. I'm a 5th Dan black belt currently in Taekwondo. So I'm sitting there, maybe what was going through my mind was, do you give up? Do you give up? And in martial arts, we never give up. We never give up. You get hit, you pick yourself up, you go again. So maybe there was something inside of me said, there must be a better way, because it's all about practice. So what is it I needed to practice? And so maybe subconsciously, I thought maybe I needed to practice business. I needed to study. I needed to go again and go again and go again. And I think that's where that came from, because up till then, any book someone handed me a book, I put it on the shelf. I mean, I wasn't, even if I read a few chapters, that was it. Took no action. But now I was reading books, making notes, devouring what they were saying, because I could feel the pain and I could really associate with what these people have gone through and how they turn things around. And when I was listening to a speaker, I was like, oh, yes, I feel that. And I would then devour it.
I think what I'm hearing there is that before you had this life whereby you were with the woman that you love, you're having a young family, you thought, right, I do my taekwondo, my martial arts, and there's a discipline there. It's all about discipline. There's a certain practice,
right.
There's certain universal laws in martial arts. You follow those rules, you be disciplined, you get focused, and you get the results. But then you approach business thinking, well, I've worked in big retail, I've got big teams, I'd present what I have, I'll get clients, we get paid, happy days. Yeah. And all of a sudden things started crumbling because your business partners weren't there, and then you took it on yourself and why am I working 8 hours a day? And what the lesson I'm learning from what you're saying is, hang on, whatever you do in life, there's a certain practice and a respect you've got to give the profession. And you've got to give it time. And you practice and this is part of why I love talking to people like you, because there's different practices that you can educate us on that other people can't. When you had that breakdown, when you went home, did you speak to your wife then, or was it like all in your head? Did you just work it out yourself, or did you say, wow, I realize?
Through my personal development journey, I've realized how important it is to talk to the people in your life, your spouse. In those days, I didn't talk a lot. Right. It was just like, it was in my head, and my wife saying, what's going on? That's how I was. I drink my coffee in the morning, don't talk to her. I had a bad attitude. That's how I was. Things have changed now. But, in learning through my personal development journey, realizing that it's important to communicate. Not communicating, that means you're not looking for help. It's okay to ask for help. And so that's what I started doing. The moment I realized that I don't know the answers, I am failing. And I can't remember which book I read or what I came across, which said it's okay to ask for help. So I started asking for help. And this time when I'm listening to speakers, I was actually paying attention and surrendering to what they say their process is.
So you're saying this time, so before you were going, but not paying attention?
I wasn't even going to personal development seminars.
Okay.
If I read anything in I don't read newspapers now, but in those days I read articles about people, and maybe I Richard Branson's book and a few other entrepreneurs. I think in 1999 I was buying those, but I'm just reading it casually rather than actually. I had no pain associated to that, but the moment I had that pain, somehow I was able to absorb and to understand really what it's like to be a real entrepreneur, because I had to overcome my situation for the sake of my family. Because you asked me, was my wife working there? When we had our first child, she went part-time. By the second child, she was hardly working at all. So now the whole thing is reliant on me.
So it's interesting that your business is failing, although out from the outside, beautiful family, you're doing your martial arts, so you're disciplined there, but your business is failing. But you didn't go to how do I improve my business? You went, how do I improve myself?
Yeah, I think that's what there was two things in parallel. One was some of the speakers I was listening to was very much you've got to improve yourself in order to improve your situation. You've got to improve yourself in order to improve your relationship. You've got to improve yourself to improve. in order to improve your money situation. And then the parallel thing was, what's the business mechanics? What are the business things that I need to understand and fix? Because from an MBA level, I understood, Porter's 5 forces, all these models, I understood all of that. But from an entrepreneurial level, where it's like, okay, you've got to put some automation, some systems, you've got to put all these things in place. You've got to get your team working this way. You need to have rules. You need to have these policies. You need to have, so from those things, it was very much, a lot of things weren't in place. I mean, I could, in terms of our sales processes, our marketing processes, all these kind of stuff weren't in place. We were just, I don't know how we were surviving, but it was just hit and miss, no consistency. So I learned the hard way round. And so when I'm working with clients now, I feel their pain. I know where they are. I know what the holes are. I know what the problems are. I know where to fix it. I know which button to press. I know what to do with them.
So you did those changes to improve yourself, to improve the internet services business.
Yeah.
Now that's one of your businesses, but that's not, from what I know you as a speaker, coach, mentor, as you do. How did you get from sort of running that to the point where you knew you loved helping others?
Yeah, very good. One of the programs I went on talked about realizing what your passion and purpose is. And up until then, I really didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I've got to pay the bills. I've got to look after my family. That's all I knew. So if someone's telling me about passion and purpose and talking about, just show me how to fix my business. That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
But I went on the course anyway. And what I discovered was that what I was doing in that internet services business wasn't really what I'm supposed to be doing on this planet. It wasn't. And so going through different processes over a 3-day program, I came to a realization that one of the common themes through my whole life, whether I was succeeding or struggling, is that people always approached me for help. Somehow they saw something, or maybe I was a good listener, I don't know. But cousins, friends, family, uncles, my brothers, my sisters, they'll man, I can't do this shit. And somehow I've helped them away, And one of the bad habits I had also was around money, because anyone struggling with money, I'll somehow, even if I got into debt, I'll still help them. And that's not a good money management way, but I've learned the hard way. So I was helping people anyway. And so when later on, in 2005, 2006, when I realized people actually get paid for this, something called training and coaching. Yeah. And I do this anyway. So that's how I got into the journey. So what happened was, after I fixed my business and sold it, and I had a lot more time in my hands, and we actually from 2005 to 2007, we just went ahead. I just went a lot. I decreased the amount of I fixed my business and I sold it, and I decreased the amount of time I was spending on that. In other things, but I just focused heavily. I remember my wife and I just focused heavily on just acquiring a lot of real estate. We did that. Mm-hmm. So now we had enough income coming in where we didn't have to work. So we had enough because all the properties are rented out, income's coming in. So I had a lot of my time in my hands, and people at the time were asking me for help. So I was working with people one-on-one. So I'll meet up with them, we'll talk. I helped them fix their business. And then it became 1 to 10 in a room, if you like, a little small workshop. I remember there was some hotels around Oxford Street, Marble Arch, and I'll, just rent a room, go in there, 10 people come in, I help work with them. And I was doing that twice a month. And got to a place where people hear me speak, then they'll invite me around the UK to come and speak at their event or whatever. And so I'll travel. I remember I'll travel 100 miles, 200 miles to go and do, because I had time on my hands. Mm-hmm. And some of them, most of it wasn't paid.
Okay.
But once I realized through this workshop that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, it made sense. So I would go do speak in different places, weren't paid, but the clients that I was working with, I got from that, they would pay me to help them. So I had a very cushy life, really. So Monday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, really wasn't doing anything, just with my family. Friday was the same. Friday, you'll see me walking around the supermarket, just idling around, picking things up. But on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I would spend time with, an hour here, 2 hours here, working with people who needed help. And so there was a moment in 2010, I think it was 2008, 2009, I became the chair of the Yes Group in London, which is a big personal development group, as you know, founded by Carl Pearsall, one of our friends. And because I had a lot of time on my hands, I put a lot of dedication in and commitment in reviving that organization and building that organization further up. And I did a speaking event somewhere, and little did I know that the general manager, the CEO of the largest seminar company in the world was in the room. I didn't know that. So I did, and I did this talk, and she loved it. And someone introduced me to her, we started talking, and she just liked me and my attitude and my mindset and all the rest of it. And then she started inviting me around the world to go and speak on her stages. Richard and Veronica Tan. And Beju, I'll tell you this, because one thing I've realized is that if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, somehow you attract the right resources, the right people, and the right circumstances for you to do that at a bigger scale. So I went from, speaking to or training, 10 people, 100 people, and really focused on the UK only. To now having trained hundreds of thousands of people in over 30 countries over the last 10 years.
I think there's a lot of people who come across opportunities, but they don't see the opportunity. Right. So either they have a mindset of it's too good to be true, or I'm not ready yet, and they self-sabotage it.
Correct.
So even though this woman, she might have spoken to other people, but she liked you, she liked others, but you were like, yeah, bring it on.
Right. And the reason why I was able to do the bring it on is because I think I had that mental clarity that, yeah, of course, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because in January 2005 on that course, I wrote my mission statement, and it was clear, abundantly clear. And don't forget, I'm still going through the throes of fixing my business, my internet services business. And I'm going through this program, and I wrote this statement, and it said, my mission has been the same since 2005, January, to inspire, educate, and empower people to live a life of joy, courage, passion, and purpose. And so from 2005, that has been my focus, and it still is today. And so it was no accident when she says, oh, can you come to Holland? Can you come to Singapore? Can you come? Yeah, no problem. I'll come. I had time on my hands.
Because it fitted your mission.
And it felt right. It felt right. So any decisions I make, or should I speak to Beju? Of course, it fits my mission because I want to inspire, educate, and empower people. Should I speak to this? But yes, of course, it fits my mission. If it doesn't fit, I don't. I spent too many years wasting and grinding the wheel and wasting time doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And it creates stress.
Did you ever have a mindset where you might have come across an opportunity and it did fit your mission, but you thought, yeah, but I'm not ready yet for that bit? Did that ever occur?
Yeah. I'll tell you something. It's a good question you asked there, Beju. It happened once and it hasn't happened again. It hasn't happened. What happened was this. I was asked to go and do a speaking gig in South Africa. And it was still one of my early years, and it was in front of several thousand people. And I felt, man, I haven't even spoken to 1,000 people. I thought, I'm not ready. And so I declined it, right? And then I saw the other speakers were lined up. I thought, well, I've shared stage with these people. I know these people. And so my biggest mistake was not accepting it. And so now if it fits my schedule, it fits my mission, it fits everything, I just say yes and I go. If it fits my family schedule, I just go and do it. So that was a big opportunity which I just let go of.
What would you say to people who are listening to this thinking, do you know what, I know what I want to do and I'm on the path to it. They might be on
Yeah,
chapter 1, they might be on chapter 10,
yeah,
but their constant reoccurring theme that stops them is, I'm not ready yet, I'm not good
yeah.
enough. What would you say to them?
I would say yes. And in the moment you say yes, if it's the right thing, but you feel you're not ready yet, just say yes. And guess what? Subconsciously, your mind will figure it out. Because the moment you say yes to that, somehow you start finding the book or the person or someone who's already done it. Somehow, because you made a commitment. And the moment you make that commitment, providence moves too. And the universe will bend over backwards to support you in that. I can't remember whose quote that was. But the moment you say, that's my lesson, the moment you say yes to that, that day, the next day, that night, all that's going through your mind is, how can I get that done? How can I get that done? And you will find a way.
Mm.
And when you go and do that thing, guess what? You may not score a grade A your first time round. But if it's okay, but it's okay to score a B. Yeah. Even if you scored a C, have you learned a lesson?
Mm.
And it's that lesson that will propel you forward for the next time. And so that's a big lesson
I'm
there.
sure that you see that a lot as well. I do. A lot of people, they've got the talent, they've got the passion, but they don't give themselves a chance to make, they're scared of failure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fear of people have lots of fears: fear of failure, fear of commitment, fear of success, fear of loss. I mean, but those, in my opinion, are not real fears. If you're walking down the road and someone's coming at you with a gun and they're going to shoot you, that's real physical and mental and emotional fear. But if it's a story that you're telling yourself, then that story is only real to you.
Mm.
So I say to Beju, I've got this opportunity to go and do this thing, but I don't think I'm ready. And Beju is saying, Mac, go for it. You've spoken here, you've done this, just go for it. But that's my story.
Mm.
Beju's got a story that, Mac, you can do it. I've got a story that I can't do it. And so that's why I say yes, figure it out, and then you'll figure out a way.
Mm. I think Branson said that once. He goes, I said yes, and then
Right.
then I went, right, how the hell am I going to do that? Or work it out. It's like
Exactly.
focus on the why. The why I want to do it is to help the world. In your case, what I want to
Yeah.
do is speak and coach and train, and the how and the when will look after itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Those resources and those circumstances come to you because you've made a decision as to this is what you're supposed to do, and this is the why, and this is the mission, or this is the vision you can see going forward. So yeah.
Apart from your family, your children, and your wife, what would you say when you look at your whole journey that you're most proud of?
Oh, good question. Because for me, it's always my family. You know, when I think about being married for 20 years, I kick myself and think, you know, I don't know how my wife has put up with me. I mean, in the very early first 5 years before I went into personal development, I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't the kind of person I am now, who's um, easygoing, contributes to a lot of people, involved in charity, gives of his time. I wasn't that person. I'll openly admit it. I was arrogant. I was egotistical. And not that I wasn't a nasty person, but I was mostly focused on me, I think. But I wasn't a horrible person, but I was very one way rather than being open to other things. And so the thing I'm most proud of, apart from having great kids and having my wife, is the person that I've become in the last 20 years, in terms of character, in terms of habits, in terms of virtue, and what I do and what I do for other people. I think that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Mm. And I think a lot of people listening to that, what I got from it as well is saying, whatever's going on around your world, good, bad, indifferent, is when you look at yourself and say, well, am I being the best version of myself in terms of creating this, and what do I need to do? And there's a humbleness in that, and also there's it's a thing. It's a difference between responsibility and total responsibility.
Mm.
in terms of taking it all on board,
Yeah.
irrespective. My wife reacted like that. Well, there might be stuff going on in her world, but I'm going to take responsibility for it. What could
Yeah.
I do about it? It's that kind of shift of mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. You know, one of the lessons I had, and I followed through on all still, is whenever a situation occurs, I ask myself, I don't ask myself, I say, I am responsible. Like you just said, I am responsible. Now, maybe I didn't cause it. Maybe it wasn't my fault, but I am responsible. So if my kids are not doing well at school, well, I'm responsible. So if one of my businesses is not doing so well, I'm responsible. If my wife is not happy, I'm responsible. It's not my fault, and I'm not in her head. But in other words, the moment I say I'm responsible, now I can get resourceful and say, okay, what can I do about that to create change? And this is a lot of it. It's also from martial arts practice, whereby instead of giving up, find a way. And so for me, that word you use, responsibility, is a big thing. And I have found the more my clients say I am responsible, there is then nowhere else to go. There is nowhere else to turn. There is no finger to point. They can't point to their coach. They can't point to their wife. They can't point to this team. They can't point to they can't point to the government. They can't even point to COVID. Or they may say, okay, we are in this COVID situation. What can I do? I am responsible. Okay, so I can pivot my business, or if this business is not going to exist in the next 3 or 6 months, well, let me shut it down now and let me start something else that the current climate requires, that there is a need for. So I'm responsible. For me, it's a daily thing.
You mentioned COVID. When you look back, well, we're currently in the period, and whatever the new norm may be, but what has that acute period when we were locked down and we had to really we couldn't do our normal things, what has this period given you?
Well, there's pros and cons for me, I suppose, or good or bad, whichever way you want to look at it. What it's given me is, how can I call it? It's a reset. It's given me a reset to say, okay, wow, I've been going at it for 10 years hard internationally, right? At the same time, I'm glad that I've got good teams in my other businesses that they take care of that so I can live my passion and my mission. And so now in 2020, I'm looking at it and thinking, wow, since March, I haven't been able to travel. But what have I got out of that? I've been able to create new programs for my clients. I've been able to teach a lot more people worldwide as opposed to being one location. I've been able to grow my investments because I'm here. So my investments have grown. I've been able to manage my teams better. I've been able to spend a lot more time with my kids and my wife because there've been nowhere else to go. So we've had to find ways to entertain ourselves and do things together and really sit and listen and be present. So it's given me all those good things. And so I think the good has outweighed the bad, if you like. The pros has outweighed the cons. And for me, the other side is not being able to travel in a physical reality to a location to do also what I love doing. But I've been able to do that remotely, virtually. But it's not the same.
So with this reset, do you think the way you will go and impact the world will be different? Do you travel less? Do you do it more in different ways? What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of for my Mindspace company, my training and coaching company, we were doing a lot of coaching remotely anyway through Zoom. We've been doing that for years, and that's not a problem. But in terms of my personal time, I think travel will be less because we found a way of actually impacting people through Zoom or video conferencing or whatever. And so travel will be less. But I do love traveling, and I'll continue to do that. I love traveling to speak. I love traveling with my family to other countries and adventures. I love all that. So that will still be there. But I think your good question was, I think it'll be less, but it will still it'll be a nice balance, I think.
And there's a lot of talk about, oh, we can work from home remotely. And I think, yeah, okay, I don't mind working from home, but I love going out. I'm missing now going out and pushing the flesh, so to speak. So what I find here, this is like there's going to be an expected duality. People are going to think, if I don't want to go, is there a virtual experience I can have? But they still want to go out and speak.
I think, there are people like you and I who like to be with people. And I think from an event point of view, I think people are going to value live events more when it happens. I was speaking to my friend Harry, who and I we go to football together. I miss that experience. I love going to concerts and shows. I live that. And it's different from watching it on TV to having it a live experience. I miss speaking on the stage and interacting with people. And you know what it's like when you are in those live environments, and you can give someone a hug or you can give someone a kiss. We are physical people, I believe. And that is missing. You can't get that virtually. No, and as human beings, we crave that.
And I think when you look at the COVID situation and the pandemic itself, but the offshoot of mental illness and the others, how it impacts human beings, and no one's going to tell me that the mental illness is not a result of partly because we can't meet people and be social. Loneliness is a real thing.
Yeah,
it's exaggerated. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's massive. So tell me, what's your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? You say you run several businesses. Where I see you light up is when you talk about the speaking, coaching, training business.
Yeah,
your property thing is really important to you because it gives you that security. It gives you that sort of
foundation. Which one? Yeah, the other businesses.
Property. Yeah,
absolutely.
So what's your legacy? What do you want your legacy to
be? I think my legacy has been, what do I want my legacy to be? For me, when I focus on my mission, it makes me focus on writing books and helping people. I've written 4 books. This is one of my very first ones.
So people listening to this won't be able to see them, but we'll put all the links. So Face It to Fix It is one book. What's the other one?
Fix It.
Face It to Fix It. People able to see.
And then this one here, the
Inspired Warrior's Code.
Yeah. So when you say, how do you live your life? Because a lot of times people are saying to me, Mac, so, how do I create more success? How do I create? In 2010, I sat down and because they're asking the same questions. And it's a book about a way to live and mindset and all the rest of it.
Is a lot of the lessons that you learned through your martial arts applicable in terms of life and business?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Give us one that some people might not think could transfer over.
One of the key lessons in terms of life and business for me is the element of, I've mentioned one, which is responsibility. The other one is practice. If you want to master anything, you can't get away from practicing and practicing and practicing. And there's many, many, many things like that. If you want to elevate yourself to your next level, you have no choice but to develop and your beliefs. So a lot of that is in this book here.
Which is the Inspired Warriors Code, because people are listening, they can't say, yeah.
Yeah, but the first one I showed you, Face It and Fix It, was all I did some research, and I also took into consideration the areas that I was failing in business many years ago. And I found there's 43 reasons why any business fails. 43 different reasons. So I put it in the book and also gave answers how you can overcome that, and real case studies in terms of people who have turned their businesses around. When I launched this in 2016, it became a #1 international bestseller.
Wicked.
We sold over 36,000 copies in that week, in the first week. My latest book, which came out early this year, is The Millionaire Moment, which is very much a story about my struggles and coming from financial debt, over $100,000 in debt, and life being a mess. Some of the stories I've told you here, to turning that around to becoming a millionaire and becoming financially free and creating wealth. How did I do that? What happened? And a lot of it is about mindset. And you've got to think differently. I've got it in here. There's poverty thinking, and then there's wealthy thinking. And I'll go through the science of how the mind really works. The science of how the mind really works to create the life you want and the financial status that you want. So my legacy is to continue to, inspire, educate, and empower people. So my legacy, at the end of the day, when I'm no longer here, for people to say, well, I'm still learning from Mac. How? Well, he's got these video series, he's got these books. I'll carry on writing books, I'll carry on training, I'll still repurpose all of that so that they can continue to live their life. Just like people continue to listen to Jim Rohn, and he's still no longer with us.
Absolutely. Max, it's been inspiring speaking to you. I love, where you like you say, you had your challenges in business. You saw potentially, if you didn't change your ways, you might have lost your marriage, and you took responsibility and you turned it around. And you not only turned it around for yourself, you then said, well, I've got a gift here to give to the world. And you went on stage and you just lent into every opportunity that came to you to do that. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you on this podcast, because we've bumped each other various times at various events.
That's right.
And I can relate to your journey. It's very similar in terms of being in the corporate life, wanting to speak, wanting to do it, not sure how, and then you just sort of keep leaning into opportunities and things started to happen. So it's been great. Mac, if people want to know more about you, you mentioned your books, but if they want to get hold of you, contact you, how can they do that?
Just find me on social media. Just reach out on social media, ask me a question. There is a free business group that I run as well. It's called in Facebook, it's called the Business Success Club. So if you type in Facebook Business Success Club, I'm there every day. I'm giving something free or interacting. So if you're in business or you're looking at changing your life or whatever, but if you're not in business and you found what I said inspiring, just reach out on social media, say hi, and let's talk. That's the best way to get hold of me.
Absolutely. And I encourage anybody to reach out to Mac. He's a top bloke, really sincere in terms of what he does. I love what he does. And, we're kindred spirits in that respect in terms of helping to change the world. Mac, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, and wish you good luck.
Beju, I want to say thank you for inviting me onto this podcast, and continue. And I'll say, may God richly bless you to do what you're doing. I know you've got some big goals and big aspirations, and anywhere I can help with that, I'll be more than welcome. Happy to help you to do that. So continue doing what you're doing. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate that. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you for listening. To find out more about myself or the Change Your Game Scorecard, you can visit changeyourgamescorecard.com, where you can find out how strong your game is and get a full detailed report. Also, if you found this episode useful, please do leave a rating or a review in iTunes to help others discover it too. Until the next time, my name is Beju Slanky.